Everybody mics are off. Me? Could everybody mute their microphones? We're getting a lot of feedback. All right, perfect. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
If you and Dr. Salerno have computers close to each other, it could be just a feedback loop.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe if I turn my
So when I turn off the microphone here, that means that you won't be able to. There we go. I'm gonna turn on the volume on your computer. 'Cause we-
Sorry. Technical glitches. Still getting used to this. Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call. Danny.
Here.
Rod.
Here.
Kimberly.
Here.
Leah.
Here.
Jeff.
Here.
That's everybody, and I am also here. Meeting has been properly noticed and certified.
That's right.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I volunteer to read the mission statement.
I can do it. The Mount Horeb Area School District, in partnership with the community, is dedicated to nurturing and educating and challenging all students, preparing and empowering them to be productive, responsible, and self-fulfilled members of society.
Thank you. So just a reminder, can people hear me? Hear me? Okay. Just a reminder before you speak, if you could just introduce yourself in case there are people that are only joining via phone. Everybody then knows who is talking. That would be great. Okay, moving on to 2A is approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Leah. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving on to 2B, approval of the March 15th, 2020 special minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kimberly, seconded by Jeff. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Moving on to 2C, approval of the March 16, 2020 regular and executive session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kimberly, seconded by Rod. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 2D, approval of the March 30th, 2020 special workshop minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rod, seconded by Jeff. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Moving on to 3, addressing the board. 3A is school news. Allie, do you have some?
I figured that you would ask me that too. I've been thinking about this all day. You know, I think people are hanging in there. It's the first day of online school, and from what I can tell, it's gone off without a hitch. And honestly, I think the consensus among the people I talk to, because I do have, you know, my normal group of people that I reach out to on different teams, you know, what's the news? How'd the game go? Obviously that was a little dry, but I think the consensus really just is everyone's really impressed with the teachers and how kind they've been. And just the amount of emails that I've gotten from various teachers reaching out, you know, we miss you if you have to talk, things like that. And so obviously these are really difficult times, but I think even without all the normal activities and wins that I get to talk about, I think it is a good day to be a Viking. I think people are generally pretty hopeful, and really just some amazing messages from teachers that I think people are pulling together. I think it's going to work. Student news.
Thank you.
Well, actually, Allie, we know how grateful we are for your kind comments, and you're exactly right. This has been a team effort through and through, not just with our teachers, but also our support staff just continuing to do amazing things with school nutrition services being offered to those who don't share the blessings you and I enjoy, but also as it relates to the ongoing work that continues as we move forward. Allie, for one, was just part of an interview committee on Friday afternoon. Allie, would you mind talking with the team a little bit about what you were doing to help?
Oh, absolutely. The SRO committee got to interview some awesome candidates for the position. And so that was also very uplifting in some kind of confusing times that, you know, it's a project that's been going on for a really long time with, you know, some really good conversations along the way. And I feel that we definitely were able to continue those conversations in considering the candidates. So that was exciting as well.
From the very beginning, our students and our community have been instrumental in the success of that exploratory committee's work. And very soon an announcement will be made with regard to who the successful candidate is. First, sending our regrets to those candidates who thoughtfully put their name in the hat, but unfortunately weren't selected. And then just before I got into the education committee meeting tonight, I saw that the Supreme Court had made a decision with regard to voting tomorrow that does have an impact on our school board races. So therefore, that is part of our school news. There will be in-person voting tomorrow. It's thoughtful that those folks who hadn't heard the latest news there, that indeed that will occur. And then lastly, I wanted to extend a tip of the hat to all of our staff as they really created some very engaging lesson plans. If you get a chance and you want to go into our district's webpage, all things COVID-19, right off our district's main page, you'll see a number of really thoughtful lesson plans designed to be both rigorous but also engaging for our students. And we're continuing to evolve as we work through this process, and we appreciate everyone's grace as we've gone through this year. And so I'm very grateful for everybody rolling up their sleeves and working shoulder to shoulder to get us to this point where we are today.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, I would like to echo those statements as well. Very impressive work. from our staff in the last 3 weeks to get ready for this day. And as far as I can see, things are going pretty well. There's going to be, just like this meeting, there's going to be some bumps as we navigate through this, but it's encouraging to see what's happening out there right now. So we'll continue supporting each other and making our way through. All right, moving on to 3B, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments? One more call for citizens' comments.
Is I'm supposed to pipe in or not?
Oh, no, not yet.
Okay.
Citizen, you definitely could, Martha.
Well, no. I just didn't want to miss my cue or whatever with all our girls joined. So I'll mute my microphone again.
Thanks. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to 4 personnel transactions. Steve, I did not see any personnel transactions
There are none.
in the board packet.
That's
so-
correct. There are no recommendations since the board took action at their meeting on the 30th of March.
Okay, thank you, just confirming.
Yes.
So moving on to 5, consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to pull out?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Rod. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to discussion items. And this is where we have our recognition of the Mount Horeb High School state champion gymnastics team.
All right.
Congratulations.
Madam President, we have been excited about this now for a number of weeks. And when we first approached you about recognizing the crew, we thought we'd be able to do it in unison together. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. But that doesn't mean we still can't recognize our students and our coaches for another auspicious season. Martha, I see you there. How grateful we are to you and the rest of our coaches for leading the cause. When I see you next, I have a certificate for you, but this is a virtual certificate I'm handing over to you right now. Might you be able to tell us all about the season and who are these fantastic people I see on our screen here tonight?
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Salerno and everybody. We had a wonderful season. Thinking back, it was a month ago today exactly. We're probably getting our awards right about now. So up at Lincoln Fieldhouse, it was exactly a month from tonight. Wonderful season, like I said, and I'm so glad that you invited all of us to be a part of your meeting and be recognized. I really miss everybody. I just want you all to know that. I know we've got a group chat, but this is so strange. I mean, I would be teaching and coaching year round if I could. So, but yeah, just an overall great season, undefeated. Great individuals, great teamwork.
See, Coach Finley's over there. Hi, Coach Finley. How are you? If you'd like to speak tonight, the easiest thing to do is just hit Control-D on your keyboard.
I got it.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. We miss you guys. Who
Thank
are
you.
all the wonderful people I see in the boxes here?
Just tons of our girls have joined on, and I just want to give them all a big shout out too. Amazing season. They put in a ton of hard work. Just kept going. We had injuries throughout the season that we had to deal with. Some alternates had to step up in times when, unprepared, and they just stepped right in and didn't blink an eye at all. And it was just great. It was an unbelievable year. And, we had a goal going from the beginning to make it to state. And I had a personal goal that I knew that they could win, and they did. So it was amazing. So good job, girls.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm wondering if we could go around the horn here and have some students who we know very well, but also want people who are listening to the conversation tonight would have the opportunity to put a name with a face. Let's see here. The first person I see on my screen is Andrea. How are you doing? Can you say hello? And if there's anything you'd like to share tonight?
Hi.
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 We've enjoyed following you this season. It's been a heck of a run for you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for representing our high school so beautifully. I see Ella is there on the telephone maybe. Hi, Ella. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. And have you come down from the big high from the season yet?
Well, what did you say?
Have you come down from the exciting high of the season yet?
Not quite. It still surprises me, and every time I think of it, it brings a smile to my face.
Oh, let that memory carry on with you forever. Outstanding. And I see
Very well.
Isabel Walker.
Hi.
And Isabel, what was your part of the team? What kinds of things did you compete in?
I did JV all around for most of the season, and I was occasionally a bars alternate who competed at the couple meets that they needed me to for varsity.
Wonderful, wonderful. And hi, Holly, how are you?
Hi. It's actually Sydney.
Oh, Sydney, I'm sorry. Okay, excuse me, please. And how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Have you come down from the high from about a month ago, or the smile still bright?
Definitely not. It's always on my mind.
And remind us, what was your competition?
I was a varsity all around. Other than when I got injured, then other alternates took my spot.
Well, we're glad you're feeling healthy now.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, congratulations. And do I see Emily on the call too?
Hi.
Hi, Emily.
Hi.
And what did you compete in this season?
I competed JV all around.
Wow, okay, so part of the success that our all-around team had this season. Very good.
Yeah.
I see your partner Grace is over here. Hi, Grace.
Hi.
Hey, there she is. Any fond memory you have about the season you'd like to share?
Everything. Everything was good. I'm really proud of everybody, and it was really fun, and yeah.
That's fantastic. I love the support not only for the good work you've done, but for your teammates as well. That means a lot.
Yeah.
And speaking of cheering each other on, the Weir sisters, boy, how are you guys doing? What a heck of a season. Maybe they can't quite hear us, but I do know it was quite an impressive run both of them had this season. Want to make certain I'm not forgetting anybody. As I see, oh, Alessandra is on the line too. Hi, Alessandra.
Hi.
And how are you? Did you have a good couple of weeks since the big match, since the big meet?
Yeah.
And now you're just resting.
Fine. Yeah, right.
And what did you compete in?
I was JV.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
And so you probably knew the great young lady who's just next to you here, Rhiannon. Hi, Rhiannon, how are you? Maybe she can't quite hear us. Well, the power of technology. I've taken a screenshot of tonight's video feed because I'd like to be able to recognize that you all have been recognized for your outstanding efforts. And I know a lot of time and energy and practice have gone into making it the success that you have made it. You've made us all so very proud. And I know that you build off that strength. You get that strength from many sources. Chief among them are your parents and your family who do so much to support you and your growth and your learning. Please be sure to extend our gratitude to them. And I know I speak for the board when I say that you all have really left a positive imprint on this school district, and we're eternally grateful. Martha, did I hear that there has only been 50 different state competitions and we've won 6 of them?
Yes, we've won 6. We've been runner-up 10 times, and we've been there as a team 33 times. So, which is a state record that we're very proud of. No other school has been there more than Mount Horeb. So, it's a great tradition. We hope to keep rolling.
There's a man out front that says, "Welcome Mount Horeb Area School District" every year, I notice when I'm up there.
Oh.
You guys are there so often.
Yeah, they're pretty neat people up there. They know us by name, and yeah. And something that we just saw on Twitter, I think tonight, was Mount Horeb got the honorable mention for the Sportsmanship Award this year. So, yep, great job, guys.
We're so proud of you all. Thank you so much for taking time to celebrate with us, and please extend our gratitude to your families for the support that they provide you, and know that you make us proud to be Vikings.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to 6B COVID-19 update. Dr. Salerno?
Yes, and good evening again, board members. I'm going to just follow back up on my comments about the launch of our virtual program that started today. I see Sarah Strock is on the call, and I want to extend a note of gratitude to Sarah, as well as a team of technical staff whom she brought and encircled herself with for the purpose of answering questions that teachers might have about how to produce online virtual learning. There's a team, I'd probably guess about 12, 14 strong, who have availed themselves to answer questions about how to create thoughtful, engaging learning opportunities for our students. Sarah, again, just being the thoughtful individual that she is, she's already thinking about how can we get feedback from families about the efficacy of our work. And she will be putting together a survey of sorts, a satisfaction survey of sorts to our families here in the coming days and weeks ahead. We want to be able to be as nimble and responsive as possible to the needs of our families. And so this is one way in which we can hopefully obtain some feedback on it. We have not heard anything more from the Department of Public Instruction as it relates to whether or not school will continue post April 24th. I have continued to watch the state website with regard to when the apex in Wisconsin is to be reached, and that has not changed. It is still noted as April the 26th, which to me would mean that there would be a long haul on the other side of that peak through the month of May. So certainly it's too premature for me to make any kind of comment other than just conjecture to say that I would be surprised if we would be back in the schoolhouse before June the 1st, though it's just conjecture, nothing based on fact. We are in the process of making contingency plans, though, for important events that we know occur within the lives of our seniors, for example. We are thinking about graduation, and we've been reaching out to Alliant Energy. Alliant Energy is where we host our graduation celebration, to determine if there are other dates that might be available later into the summer so that we could still host this most important rite of passage. And we haven't quite made a decision yet on prom. Prom is happening, I believe, Mother's Day weekend, if I remember correctly. It's a Saturday night before Mother's Day. And there's no decision as to whether or not that will be postponed. But you have noticed that the district has put together some frequently asked questions. These are questions we've been getting from families over the course of the past 3 weeks and trying to make it available so that people can feel like Their needs are being met. Of course, no question is ever too silly or too small to reach out to myself or any one of our team members. We'd be more than happy to be of service to you. So with that, maybe I'll stop and see if there are questions that are out there.
Steve, I have a question.
Please.
So as we go down the virtual learning path, and are the teachers then collecting the work at the end of, this is new this week, so are teachers then collecting the work at the end of the week? And if there are students that aren't completing their work, they'll reach out to those families and have that conversation with the parents?
Yes, absolutely. So the purpose of those phone calls would be twofold. One, if they haven't seen a student check in, it might be to say, hey, do you have the equipment you need so that you can be successful? But maybe the second reason would be if the work is not of quality or we're not getting mastery of the work, which is ultimately really what we want to see happen. And then each staff member is established office hours. So that way staff members and students and their families can talk a little bit about how to get the student what they need so they can be successful. Yes.
Thank you. Other questions?
Terrific. We'll continue to keep you updated. And thanks for those who are listening into the call tonight or watching this on our recording. We appreciate the questions that you're giving us. It allows us to think ahead, and we're all finding our way together through this. So I also appreciate your grace.
All right, moving on to 6C of our discussion items, information and advocacy report on individual academic, social, and emotional readiness levels. Mr. Johnson, I believe, is on the call with us for this.
Yeah, that would be me. Steve, do you want me to present now?
Here, I'm putting it up for you right now.
Great.
Can you see the screen, everyone?
Just you still.
Oh, please hold.
No.
How about now?
It's soon. Now we see it.
There we got it.
And
Great.
I've got a presentation link here.
Now it's done. There we go.
There we go. Perfect. So this is the information and advocacy report that really talks about the system of support for students and staff. And so this objective goes specifically into the evolving demographic trends for the Mount Horeb community, and then even more specifically under the indicator 3, which is the individual academic, social, and emotional readiness levels. So that's kind of where the 3 functions that we kind of focus on through this presentation. So kind of looking at some of our student demographics, my previous kind of information advocacy reports kind of go into the detail of all of our student demographics. This kind of goes specifically into students with disabilities. So as you can see, this year we're 292 students with disabilities, so about 13% of our overall student population. That's 14 more students than we had last year. So overall, it's remained relatively consistent, at least in the number of students across from year to year, but it has had a slight increase this year of 14 students. In terms of the students that we serve, when looking at every disability category, we serve students in every category. And you can see most of our students are students with learning disabilities and students with speech and language impairments. So those are the 2 kind of with our highest needs. And then we have quite a few students who are other health impaired, students who are autism, EBD, and then it kind of goes down, and then we've got just a few students in each of the other categories. We have 9 students with disabilities that open enroll into our district, while 5 students open enroll out. Another kind of important thing to notice here is 504 data. So these are students who have a disability, but then do not qualify for an IEP. And those are how many we have in the district. So we have 1 at the ELC, we have 6 at the IC, 15 at the middle school, and 33 at the high school. So that's a pretty big jump up, but that's pretty average in looking at how it works. A lot of times students have disability or have an IEP when they're younger, and then they don't meet criteria any longer, and then kind of still need some accommodation. So those kind of come into high school. But that is still a pretty high number at our high school. So those are students who don't have a special ed teacher, case manager. The assistant principal kind of oversees those meetings, along with sometimes the school psych help support as well. But then really the general ed teachers are providing all of the accommodations within the classroom. So this is when we're kind of looking at academic, social, and emotional readiness. Last year we talked about RTI, right, which is the response to intervention. And that's been the pyramid model and different versions of the pyramid model for many years. So you've probably seen that through my presentations, through Sarah's presentations, and it kind of all does the tier 1, which is the core instruction, tier 2 is more small group, and then tier 3 is in the intensive individualized interventions and supports. DPI changed the model this last year to be more of a continuous improvement model. So instead of a triangle, it's a circle, right? Because it's ever changing. It's always being looked at, being enhanced. And you can see there's the strong universal level to provide continuum of supports, but there's so many more components that go into it and what it looks like to have a good system of supports that you can have within your district. And so it all kind of focuses on the core being equity, and that goes back to the work and the strategic plan and the work that we're doing this year around a lot of the areas, including equity work. So that's kind of the overview, and this kind of continuum model is something that we did a full staff training on at the beginning of the year for all teaching staff to kind of show what it looks like now, how that kind of reinforced, and then how we're supporting that through all of our initiatives, both through Sarah and myself in teaching, learning, and in targeted interventions and supports. So the next slides all are kind of in your packet and really go to what do our student services team to kind of re-meet. And I hope that when you looked at the packet, you saw that bottom picture was like your center of your last page, but I just thought it was the cutest picture. I asked for the student services staff to send me pictures of some of the work that they're doing. And that was this year, that was the only one I got this year, but it was adorable. And if you can't probably see it too closely on your screen now, but that's a lesson on zones of regulation. So you're teaching different colors to deal with different emotions. So your first student to me looks like he's probably sleepy. Your second student's happy. Your third student is silly. And then your fourth student's mad. And so they're just acting out the different colors and how they feel when they feel that way. What we're trying to do with that curriculum then is not just make it about an intervention, but what can you do with your body when you're feeling that way? One, to help energize you, or two, if you're angry, what to do to help control your body. So with it, it's knowing that you're in the blue zone, and then what can I do with my body if I'm in the blue zone and I need to get out of it? The upper left-hand picture is of a Phy-Ed class. And that's co-taught with the Phy-Ed teacher and with the school psychologist. Every Friday they co-teach that class together, and it's a lot of mindfulness activities, and it's kind of for everybody to kind of get involved with. So it's pretty great. So then we just kind of broke it down. So really going through and making sure that these are all of the things that we are doing at each grade level and so this is pre-K 2. So these are all the initiatives and all of the work that we're doing. So I won't read through every one of these, but these are each of the categories that we put them in under academic readiness, social readiness, and emotional readiness, showing that we're looking and continuing to make improvements in each of these areas. So these go to small group instruction. So our school counselor and the school social work are doing a group on family change, a group on peer connections. They have a group called Worry Warriors and a group on self-confidence. All of the kind of the classrooms, if you go into the kindergarten room, it's really cool. All of them have a take a break space. When I was in kindergarten and there was a take a break space, like that was not a positive place to go. This is like really like a sensory input area where kids can go into and really legitimately take a break. It's not a punishment, it's just an extra added place to go in and provide support and really take a break, right? I mean, think of how many times we need breaks throughout the day, so do kids. And then we're continuing to do the second step curriculum, and we're teaching zones of regulation. So those are some kind of K2 highlights. In 3-5, that's when this year we've started to add Oregon mental health in as a pretty significant intervention. They've only got a few students, but they're really loving it and it's going really great. They're also doing some check-in, check-outs, but they're also doing some cool things where every new third grade student who's new to the district, they do what's your level of connectedness to the school? And then they're meeting monthly with all of those new students to make sure that they're really engaged and feel like they belong. That's a hard thing in a district that's a little bit smaller like Mount Horeb, but when you're with kind of the same kids in every grade, is that when you're kind of coming in the middle level, you can kind of feel like an outsider. And so this has been a really important tool to be able to continue to gauge and make kids feel like they belong.
Brian, would you be able to speak to the success we've had with the youth monitors model this year?
Yeah, so then the other really cool thing this year that you'll see at this level, so it was 4th, 7th, and 9th grade, was Youth Frontiers. So it kind of goes to all grade clusters, and we brought in an outside company through the AODA grant, and that really building on respect, courage, and kindness. And so those are the three big standouts, and I've heard over and over from parents, from students, and from staff that it's been an amazing emotional experience, and it long lasted. So it's not one of those one and done. It gave continuous lessons that I know teachers were continuing to read. When I went into the middle school after it was over, they said, just hope you know that if you ever plan to take that away, we will not allow it to happen. You brought it in, we're sold, we drank the Kool-Aid, and we want to continue to. So it was really positive and it was great. Another thing that's kind of all grades, we really do follow it pretty closely at the high school, of course, everywhere, but we developed last spring an entire suicide risk assessment protocol, and we've done training across the whole district on it. And then also, I have implemented it. So we've talked to the general ed teachers about it. So that way, if a general ed teacher in 6th grade is at home at 6 o'clock at night and reading a report that has some concern, they're handling it the same way that a 10th grade teacher would do. Or they could look up this document and be able to find ways to get support and what to do. And so every kind of those strategies and situations are all really laid out for everybody to continue to follow. So kind of in summary, if you can go to the last slide, student demographics is something we're always looking at and figuring out how we can meet the needs of our student. And then really looking at how our student services staff are able to meet individual needs, but on weekly needs, or on small group needs as well. And really, you know, I think in general, a lot of kids are really struggling with these last few weeks. From a parent side as well as a student side, there's a lot of extra feelings of anxiety with school closure. We know that kids are struggling with depression, but also this is a really hard time. We have a lot of kids who are struggling with real grief, and grief because of fear or, as we know, loss of maybe a family or relative from COVID-19, but also the loss of all of their routine structure, their sporting events, kids who've worked for the last 11 months waiting for their track season to finally come so they could run their best time and maybe get into a college, or all of those dreams and hopes are kind of vanishing, and so there's real grief going on. And so we're doing the best that we can, and if anybody has any other feedback, hopefully you'll really let me know. When we did have one of our students die by suicide 3 years ago, we developed a system of tracking students who are high risk, medium risk, and low risk that we just wanted to keep on our radar. And so we've done that again in this situation. And so we're looking at our high risk kids being constant communication, and then they'll end up being moved hopefully down to the medium risk group, and then hopefully down to the green group, and then off the list. And so we've done that. Student services teams meeting every week. I mentioned when we did the fireside chat for any parent to contact me if they have any concerns. We've had a parent do that within, it was pretty late at night, so by the next day they had already had contact with a student services member. We're going to send out an email pretty shortly that kind of reiterates that again. Oregon Mental Health is providing teletherapy and continuing to do their important work in our district. Nancy Pierce did a big presentation for our school district staff and around mental health and what are the steps you need to follow. And then she's going to do a community presentation as well. We're still doing student check-ins. We've redeveloped our crisis response, and Sarah helped to put on the website. So we have kind of a mental health resources page. So if you're a parent and you don't know what to do, there's step-by-steps on what to do and who to contact if you believe your child is struggling with mental health. And we'll continue to provide resources, proactive and reactive strategies. Both, so parents can have access and log in and have resources available. So we're continuing to do that work. Student services staff are meeting tomorrow, and we will use, just keep developing. We're going to put on some resources for grief. That's when we're putting our proactive strategies in. And then we're also just kind of re-looking at our crisis plan. I don't know if you guys have how close you are into the neighboring communities, but we know that there's been 2 of our direct neighbors have had student deaths within the last week. One for sure suicide, the other is unknown. And so we've been in a lot of contact with them, providing resources and supports and documents for them to help them through their tragedies.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for all the work and all of the care that we've put in during this time, especially. So you had mentioned that you're going to have a link with additional information on mental health kind of around this time. It's going to be on the website. Is that where we're going to have that information?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it's on the website now. Let me see if I can't navigate those who are watching to see it here tonight on the screen here. I'm going to go to Mount Horeb area schools, Mount Horeb schools.
It's going to be continuously added on and more information on there, but this is what we've got it up there right now. So
we have it under two places just to assist families, all in our school closure information. You'll see here this mental health guidance for families and resources that families can reach out to, including direct contacts to our staff. Our staff have been really great about answering their emails at least twice daily. And we are now in the process of taking their telephone numbers and being also able to make them available so they can call families from their homes without having to share personal information. We're about 50% of the way through with that. And then there's additional information through Oregon Mental Health for those families who are working with Oregon Mental Health teletherapy. And as Brian mentioned here, that program with Nancy Pierce here the other day, it was called What to Do If Your Child or Friend Ends Up in a Mental Health Crisis During the COVID-19 Pandemic. We had about 45 staff members participate in that training, and it was so well received. Nancy has been gracious enough to offer her services again, and we should be rolling out with that information. We talked about maybe by midday tomorrow so that families, if they wanted to, could participate and watch and maybe even ask a few questions to Nancy. Isn't that right, Brian?
Yeah, Nancy and I did talk today for quite a while. We're going to try Google Hangout tomorrow to try it on that process. Right now, she's saying she would like it to be not live, to record it and then have us post it. And then I would leave my email address, and then any questions people could email me, and then I would get them an answer either from myself from a school district perspective or talk with Nancy. So.
Good.
Steve, could we just, in the board update to the community, could we link that in there?
Of
somehow?
course.
Does that work?
Yes, absolutely.
Because this is one of the times I think that we should really be publicizing that information.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you, Brian, very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to action items. Now, this is a public hearing. This is a public hearing on instructional hours waivers for the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction due to Governor Evers' COVID-19 public health emergency, and in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes 118.38. We do have time for citizen comments during this public hearing. Do you want to just give us a little overview of what?
Sure. I'd be happy to set the table.
Thank you.
And then certainly if there's folks who are listening in and would like to have an opportunity to share their insights, we absolutely want to hear them tonight before the board would consider any kind of action. For the first time in my 30-year history as an educator, and the first that I know of actually in the state of Wisconsin, special dispensation has been made to school districts around the total number of hours of instruction, provided that the Board of Education approves such a waiver. And that must be done through a public hearing for the state statute that President Rothamer identified. You may recall some years ago, maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago, the Department of Public Instruction under the new statute no longer tied school districts to a certain number of days of instruction, but rather kept the minimum number of hours of instruction the same. And this order has obviously precluded us from having face-to-face instruction now for the past several weeks and for the foreseeable future. Under this plan, the district's administration is recommending that we apply for this waiver, and in so doing, we're following the process that's laid out in statute. There are 2 other waivers that are available right now to school districts, one on the civics exam and one related to graduation credits. In both those instances, the district is not seeking such waiver as we're really in a good spot in both of these areas, and the impact on our students is very, very negligible. So the one waiver we are seeking from the board this evening is around this concept of instructional hours.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, now I will call for citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? And one more call for citizens' comments. Hearing none, do any board members have any comments on the waiver? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Kimberly. To approve the instructional hours waiver to the Department of Public Instruction. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, I'm sorry, we're going to do a roll call vote on this one. So we'll start with Danny.
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Kimberly,
Yes.
Leah, sorry Leah, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
now we can.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. Rod?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. Motion carries. All right, moving on to 8, citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? One more call for citizens' comments. Hearing none, we'll move on to 9, future agenda items. Those are listed. As always, if you have any agenda items, you may send them to either Steve or myself, and we'll get those added to our futures list. Moving on to 10, our schedule of next meetings is listed.
Madam President, may I just briefly interrupt in light of the late afternoon announcement here today? I'm uncertain as to whether or not we'll still be canvassing of ballots on March 13th at 3 p.m. However, if I could, once I gather more information, I can pass it out to folks. Would that be all right?
Thank you. All right, moving on to number 11.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Rod, seconded by Jeff. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.